Watson faking to Chubb to the end zone. It's picked off. Petrie. Jalen Petrie looking for a seam. He's up to the 25. 29 on the return.
Was that the high point of yesterday's loss to the Browns? Was it when the Texans had a 5-0 lead, seeming like they had a 2-run homer from Alex Bregman or a 3-run homer from Yordan Alvarez to give them that lead? I don't know. All I know is, good God, Deshaun Watson won the breakup by playing like the Browns he plays for. He sucked, and he beat you handily. Awful, awful day yesterday. What's going on, people? It is the Paul Gallant Show, the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. 713-780-3776. 713-780-ESPN, as you heard from the voice guy. To jump aboard, we're going to leave the lines open all day if you want to vent about Deshaun Watson. At the very least, we get to flush this Browns down the toilet when we maybe don't have to talk about Deshaun Watson again after this. But the guy has beaten you in every way he possibly could. Sean Mapes is behind the glass. Sean, good morning. How you doing?
Doing good.
Doing good. Okay. Not great, not splendid, not wonderful. I mean,
No, good wraps it up.
okay, good. Okay.
I don't want to lie and say like,
Well, I mean,
I'm doing great.
I'm
How's it going?
I'm trying to get someone to
It's
pick me
Football
up.
Monday.
I want you to pick me up.
The future is now. Jalen Petrie interceptions that intercepts that
Yeah.
freak Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, he is. All right. So what are all the ways that Deshaun Watson has won? Of course, you got the 5-year, $230 million contract. You have the fact that he's not here and that he forced you to trade him while being in the midst of a sexual misconduct scandal. He didn't want to play for you to begin with, and you catered to his wishes, at least to an extent. I don't think he exactly wanted to go to Cleveland, but now he's there. He has really faced zero heat from Houston area media. I found that out the hard way at his post-game press conference, where the Cleveland Browns' Baghdad Bob wouldn't let me ask any questions, or anyone from Houston ask questions in that setting. And he won a game where he played horribly. He's beaten you. He even shook Cal McNair's hand before yesterday's game. Just came up to Cal McNair and shook his hand. A lot of people are mad that Cal didn't turn away. What are you supposed to do when someone comes up to you offering their hand? Are you supposed to punt it? Are you supposed to turn your back? Are you supposed to put your hands behind your back? So he pulled that off. You had all of the usual suspects, the complete morons, and the Larrys and Stafford who support this idiot no matter what. Everyone who was rooting against Deshaun Watson, you didn't get what you came to see yesterday. And you felt like you wasted your time. I felt like I wasted my time yesterday.
You did get a little bit though, because he did not throw a touchdown pass.
And he still beat you. He played poorly.
Well, we know the Texans stink. We came into it being like, what is the kind of, we know you're not going to win this game, but what's the little moral victories you can get? And moral victory was when I walked away during when the Texans punted it, and I walked back in front of a TV, and I saw Donovan Peoples-Jones running untouched, and I was like, oh my God, did Deshaun Watson throw a bomb? And then they showed the replay, and it was a punt return. I was like, yes. Kept Deshaun off the board.
I went to the bathroom, and I heard all of a sudden a groan from the crowd, and I looked up on the television, and I was like, oh. So the moment I get up to move, that's when the Browns finally get on the board with a touchdown. They scored other touchdowns, too. It's not just that Deshaun Watson, despite playing horribly, Donovan McNabbing the ball all over the yard, bouncing it in the dirt well in front of his receivers for the most part, though still showing some of that elusiveness that made him really special when he was a quarterback here. You also had, I would say, maybe the worst attempted play in Texans history, which is really saying something. At their own 1 yard line, On second down, the Texans think to themselves, let's try to get a little more space. And just in case, we just got a safety in this game. We don't want to have a safety against us. Somehow it went worse than it possibly could have.
On 2nd and 10, Allen just trying to get him some breathing room. Football squirted out. It's picked up. Cleveland into the end zone. Denzel Ward. And the call on the field is a touchdown.
They fumbled the ball. They fumble-sixed it while doing a QB sneak from their own 1. That's really hard to do.
Josh Allen did that against the Vikings. Would you want Josh Allen as your quarterback?
At least Josh Allen muffed the snap, so it made sense. Kyle Allen fell forward with the ball in a play where it's so hard for anyone to punch the ball out, and he still lost the ball there. He also threw a pick six. He could have thrown a second pick six at the end of the game. He is terrible, and I never want to see him again. Baker Mayfield did get released this morning. I imagine he's going to end up with the San Francisco 49ers in the near future. I would not mind the Houston Texans taking Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't. At this point, what do you have to lose? You put in a waiver claim for him, you get him, and you're better off. But that's also besides the point. Watson won the breakup while you got pantsed by yourself. Are you going to try to own it now? We did that intentionally. And then you had the Watson post-game press conference, and I'll talk more about my part as I sat back and watched Watson field softball after softball from the Cleveland media. Watson said that Houston is still a part of him, and that said something very interesting about the actual trade that went down.
Houston is still part of me. It's part of my legacy. I got drafted here. We went through a lot of ups and downs with this organization. And, being traded was tough, but, it was a business decision and it had to happen. So leading to that and then being my first game back here in Houston was tough.
Being traded was tough. It was a business decision. It had to happen. Shut up. You didn't want to be here. You can't act like you had great times here when you were willing to sit out to leave. He said he respected the organization earlier this week. I don't like Deshaun Watson, but you know what? I'd at least appreciate if he were honest this past week and said, yeah, they're a dumpster fire, and I left. I forced my way out of town because it was that bad of a situation. But yesterday he was acting like, yeah, man, a lot of great memories here. What were they? Number one. Two, you don't have any actual feelings. How do I feel that way? Well, I've said before, Watson does have some sociopathic tendencies based off of all of those allegations against him and the way that he so coolly, calmly, unflappably answers questions about it. He was asked a question. These were the only two tough questions of the press conference after the game by Jenny Vrentas of the New York Times. It was essentially, hey, do you feel any remorse for the alleged victims? Here was Watson's answer.
Like I said before, that's, something that, legal and clinical, we've answered before, and they don't want me to address anything like that. Of course, it was a tough situation. The suspension was tough, but at the same time, my main focus was just trying to be 1-0 as a football player today.
It was a tough situation. The suspension was tough. Are you remorseful? Well, yeah, it was tough for me. I'm remorseful for myself. It was a hard time being suspended. So Vrentas doubles down, and this is the last tough question that was allowed to be asked by Brown's Baghdad Bob. She said, well, are you remorseful for the actions that led to your suspension? And here was, once again, Deshaun Watson.
Like I said, I was just excited to be back on the field today. I did everything that I was asked and was required to do. I did all that, and I was able to play and be on the field today.
I did everything that I was asked and required to do. Does that sound like somebody who's learned from any of the counseling that he reportedly got? And to make matters even more hilarious, as Watson just won in every single way yesterday, you even had Adam Schefter carrying water for the NFL with a headline that read as this from Saturday. Deshaun Watson showing progress in treatment program, sources say. As part of the conditions that enabled Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson to be reinstated and play Sunday against the Browns, he has made what NFL and NFLPA experts have described as signs of progress during his mandatory treatment program. One source connected to the treatment program said he's been progressing well and he wants to continue with it, and they feel it's helping him. He didn't say he feels it's helping him. They feel it's helping him. And what are they doing? Are they bringing Watson into a massage parlor and saying, all right, Deshaun, can you control yourself? This quote continued, it's just sort of ongoing as needed, and it'll be ongoing until it's not needed anymore. Shouldn't it not be needed anymore now, given that why would you ever have the stones to do this again, given you were suspended and have been made a pariah in NFL circles? Until it's not needed anymore. Just think about that. Well, yeah, he's progressing, but we're still thinking he needs more of it. And I think it's given him a lot of help and support. The last thing, but this could take a while. Well, then how is the headline reading from Adam Schefter carrying water for the league and the NFL Players Association, hoping that everyone's just going to move on? Deshaun Watson showing progress in treatment program, except once again, this could take a while. That's not progress.